Patch notes. It's time. Patch notes for V1310 have just come out. I do play this game. I take breaks because I get frustrated at times, but I have really enjoyed Forsaken Frontiers, and I'm really happy that they update the game so frequently. I've put about 36 hours in. Most of that's been on Nightmare mode, and this update actually has some revamps to Nightmare mode to change it. So let's see what we have. Entity vision is now halved in foggy conditions. I am That's good, but I don't know if it means halved as in the width of their vision cone or the length of their vision, or if it's both. We'll have to see in game. Adjustments to fog density and appearance. Also, we'll have to just see how that looks. Starting cell now always generates a door. So I guess there were generations that didn't have one, which made it kind of difficult to escape entities because the door on the train takes time to close, and so if they were too close behind you, you couldn't get inside without them getting in with you. Initial door no longer generates as locked. Huge. That was really annoying, especially before you had bolt cutters. Adjusted door mechanics to require proper timing for enemy stuns, preventing spamming. Not surprising, given that door spamming was kind of the meta, since door slamming is how you stunned enemies to give you time to run away, and you would just spam the door, and there was no penalty for that. So you didn't have to time it pretty much. So I'm interested to see how. I'm interested to see just how fickle it'll be in terms of timing. Now stunned if struck by a door being knocked down. So if an enemy knocks on a door twice, like a butcher, and then you do the third knock, I guess that you'll stun them, which is cool. Also useful with the sledgehammer, because the sledgehammer knocks down doors in one go, so pretty cool. Some ping-related fixes, so knocking down doors is not seamless, but for client players, I don't really play multiplayer that much, so let me know if that actually is working properly. Reintroduced vision fading. I don't remember this mechanic, to be honest. It must have been patched out really early on when the game released, so I will update you on how that looks. Removed cycle difficulty display from the data deck in escape mode, probably just because it wasn't necessary, didn't matter. Desync desk in tunnels, that's good. Volume of the electric shock sound effect, I don't remember what that is relating to. Improved audio clarity for elevator arrival sounds. I guess that is to clue you in so that you know when the elevator has arrived more accurately instead of it being vague. Entity spawn times on Pentagon are consistent across all difficulty levels. That's fine. It is kind of like the final map, so scaling with difficulty doesn't really matter. Unpaid travel fee has been re-increased from 300 to 400, so it used to be 400, got nerfed down to 300, and now it's back to 400. I'm not a huge fan of this change. I think that it was fine at 300. I think it could have come down even further to 200, since it makes breaking even so much harder. But again, you're not meant to use debt to go to maps entirely. It's just if you have a few dollars that you're missing. So fine, but I am kind of sad to see this change. Generation speed is increased. That's good, I guess. Less time wasted. Increased map generation size. So I believe at last I checked, the maximum size for a map was 400 cells. I wonder how much bigger they can get. Theoretically, this means that entities will spawn further away on average, depending on how they have it programmed. If it's a percentage of the map generation size, then this is good. If it's a flat number, this doesn't really matter much. I am a little surprised. I guess it does overall, though, make it so that you shouldn't encounter entities as quickly, as often, which is good for like hotel and hospital and metro. Reduce the time it takes to generate after pulling the train brake, and decrease the delay before the train departs after pulling the brake to leave. That's good. And now the meat that I'm interested in, the nightmare changes. Nightmare mode now begins at the withering difficulty cycle, or level. So if you didn't know, in one of the more recent updates, I believe it was 1300, they introduced a scaling difficulty. So in the data deck, when you're looking at your like log with all of your loot and the loot value and like your character information, there's a little difficulty setting on the right side, and it's like what is it? It's like Unbroken, Withering, Condemned, and Forsaken, I want to say. And so each one gives you like a higher increase for your debt cycle, more or faster entity spawns, things like that. So you automatically begin at that second tier instead of the first tier. And on normal difficulty, on Endless, it increased every 2 cycles. So on Nightmare, it's now going to be every 1 cycle. The debt now starts at $100. In Endless, it's just $50. So this is back to where it was originally, which is fine, I guess. But it'll probably mean that scaling also is affected. Reduce is a big one. Reduced Nightmare loot value multiplier from 2.5x to 1.55. Yikes. So fair enough. I do think that for what you were playing, it was a lot of money, especially since the prices for everything else were not scaled. So Tunnel still cost $1,000. Metro was still 25 or 50, whatever it was. Hotel was still 200. Like nothing else was more expensive on Nightmare. It was just that you got more money for the more danger. Also another big one. Nightmare mode no longer doubles enemy spawns. If this wasn't here, I would probably complain a little bit about this being so much lower, because I could have seen this staying at like a 1.7 or 1.8 and being fine, but with no double spawns, this is probably about right. Well, we'll see. And power now goes out at 8 p.m. in Nightmare mode instead of 5 p.m. Huge change. I absolutely despised the 5 p.m. blackout on Nightmare mode. It was super frustrating. For those who don't know, when power goes out or on blackout modifier, the elevators don't work. And also you can't see because there's no power, there's no light. And not having elevators work is like a huge issue, especially solo, because it means you have to run back to the train to get your loot. And so it made playing really frustrating, for me at least. So I'm glad that it got pushed back to 8. 8's probably about right. I could have been fine with 9. I could have been fine if they removed this mechanic entirely and just let the power be as it was, but so be it. And then bug fixes. I'm not as focused on these, but good to have them anyways. Fixed a bug in escape mode where certain entities like Spider and Ventress were no longer spawning. Fixed a bug that allowed equipment to be used while the data deck was opened by swapping items between slots. Interesting. Fixed an issue in the door code that prevented alarmed doors from showing a kicked motion when kicked, as well as other issues like the inability to lock the door or missing closed sounds. I did know this one for sure. You could not lock alarm doors on Hotel, like at all, just period. You couldn't lock them, which was really strange to me, but I guess they've been, I guess that wasn't intended, which I didn't actually know. Fixed an issue where the stun animation for entities would occasionally fail to trigger. I don't know if this means that they wouldn't get stunned, or if just that the animation wouldn't play, but they were still stunned. Made further adjustments to address and hopefully fix black screening issues on death. So hopefully all the co-op players are having it better now. And fixed an issue where the Forsaken would not make any idle noises for client players. Also, again, co-op players, hopefully you are having a better time. I'm not sure if they've fixed a lot of the DC issues. At least I've been watching Chef Austin play on his runs, and he's had a lot of issues with people DCing and just general ping and general invisibility issues, items disappearing, replacing other items. So hopefully those are going to be adjusted or fixed soon as well, because I think co-op is a big part of this game for people, not myself but others, and I would love to see those ironed out. But yeah, I do plan on playing this and making a video about it. Because they update so frequently, it's kind of a pain to make videos, because it's like, alright guys, I'm playing version, I'm playing version 1201, and I record the video and I make it, and then suddenly like 1300 comes out, and then 1301, and 1302, and it's like, alright. Like 1301 and 2 came out on the same day, by the way. That's crazy. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to this update. Hopefully there's a little bit of calm before the storm, and so we get some time to actually mess around with these changes and experience them in full before they make more changes again. Thanks for watching. That's been the patch notes for Forsaken Frontiers. If you want to see me make more videos like this for the future updates of the game, let me know. And I look forward to testing out Nightmare Mode now that it's been both nerfed and buffed in different ways. In particular, I'm really glad that they did this change with the power outage at 8, and I'm pretty glad that they reduced enemy spawns to no longer be double. Nothing was worse than dying because you got pinchered between 2 butchers or 2 spiders, purely because they just decided to path different directions. When you have a map generation that's like a tree branch that like branches out, and there's no connectivity or like looping back or like double backs, it makes it really frustrating to try and escape, because if an enemy is behind you and in front of you, there's just not a lot that you can do. The sunlight does help a lot with that, but it's only so much, and spiders can't be stunned by it anyways. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.